considerate of your time, we're going to get started and kind of breeze through some housekeeping issues. First of all, I want to welcome, I'm Patrick Chapin, I'm the President and CEO of the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank our candidates for being here this morning. Very brave of you to run for office. I admire you. I also want to recognize Jana, who's our Government Affairs Committee Chairman. Jana, thank you. And other board members, a few here. Jill, I saw you, a few others. Thank you very much for helping out this morning. And especially the staff who organizes this and are always, look at him, he's in the closet, always hiding. Ronnie Moore with the city. You clap until any technical issues, and then it's all on you. A couple of housekeeping issues here. You are being videoed, so if you're not supposed to be here, don't turn around. Also, if you can silence your cell phones, I would appreciate it. And if you did not have a chance to fill out audience questions, Ashley over here has some forms. If you want to raise your hand, we'll be collecting those, and you'll have an opportunity. We'll sort through those and ask a couple questions at the end. So here's the format. We're going to have 1 minute opening remarks, and we've already drawn by numbers to make it fair. We ask that you please stand during your opening and closing remarks, but you may remain seated for the questions during the forum. Because of the shorter time period here, we ask that you limit your responses to 90 seconds. A yellow card will be raised with 20 seconds remaining, and a red card raised when time has expired. The mayor will have a hook over here if you go too long. Nice to see you, Mayor. I forgot to recognize you. Thank you for being here. And also, in the spirit of the fact that we're all neighbors, if you don't mind, we'd like to use our first names. If you can call me Patrick, and I can call you by your first names, I'd appreciate it. And then the sequence of who is asked the questions is also determined by the drawing. So let's get started. Who goes first with an opening remarks?
Mr. Tom.
Okay, Tom.
I think I won the lottery here. Hey, it's great to finish out the week on your home court. I'm Tom McMack, and I've been your commissioner for the past 6 years. Prior to that, I chaired 4 city boards. I'm a proud member of the Chamber of Commerce. I serve here on the membership committee, the Winter Park Autumn Arts Festival committee, and in 2014, I was honored to be Volunteer of the Year. In my spare time, I'm also a landscape architect, and I work for Little John Engineering. I'm running for a 3rd term because these are really exciting times in our city. We've got a visioning process going on. We've got a comprehensive plan up for review. We have a library issue on the ballot. Our sustainability programs are working. Rollins College and Florida Hospital are continuing to invest in their campuses. These are just exciting times. And I'd like to keep working for you, and I appreciate all you being here, and looking forward to the questions. Thank you. No time for applause.
Hi, I'm Pete Weldon, running for seat 4. Ray and I raised our family here. We moved here in 1989. Our kids were born at the Winter Park Memorial Hospital. I have been a professional finance guy, manager, and investor for the past 40-some years. Worked for Johnson & Johnson for 14 years with the chief financial officer and vice president of one of our operating companies some years ago. I have a chartered financial analyst designation, and I've been an investment advisor for the past 20 or so years. I actually retired a couple of years ago. I've served on 3 different city boards over the last 8 years. Started on code enforcement. I've been on the Tree Preservation Board for the last 6 years, and I'm currently on the Planning and Zoning Board. I'm running because I think there's a better way to govern Winter Park, and I'll get into that in my closing remarks. But I want you to know that my commitment to you is to protect the character and quality of our city, while at the same time we protect your person and your property, as well as your property rights. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Carolyn Cooper. I have been very proud to serve as your city commissioner for the last 7 years. Prior to my time on the city commission, I was on the Planning and Zoning Board and the Comprehensive Plan Task Force. So I know a lot about land use regulations. I also, prior to coming to Winter Park, served as a financial manager for DoD. I was the weapons foreign military sales manager for the nation of Israel. And I have a top secret security clearance. So my integrity should be well assured for you. I also, prior to that, was one of 2 women directors in Lockheed Martin. I serve on the Florida League of Cities. I'm on their board of directors. I represent 400 cities in Tallahassee, including Winter Park. I have been on their finance committee, on their growth management committee. I understand how municipal government works. I understand Winter Park. And I am here to protect your property values and your quality of life. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Lynn Brady Macheski. Thank you for coming. I want to thank my husband and my daughter Rachel. She got up before me this morning. She was very excited. I'm one of the owners of Cocina 214 on Welborn here in downtown Winter Park. We employ 60 people. We're celebrating our 5-year anniversary this year, which I'm very proud of. We've won over 30 awards, and thank you all for supporting us. I serve on 4 local boards here. I serve on the Winter Park History Museum, on the Park Avenue Merchants. I'm actually the past president, and I'm the current vice president. I serve on Leadership Alumni Council, and I'm also a Girl Scout troop leader. I serve on a city board, Keep Winter Park Beautiful and Sustainable, and I have the support of 5 mayors, and I'd love your support too. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, Pete, time for the hot seat, everyone. Let's get started. And I'm happy to repeat some of these questions because some of them are a little bit lengthy, so pay attention, please. If you need coffee, let me know. As we have seen several times in recent years, landowners and/or potential purchasers are requesting zoning land use changes on commercial properties. A few examples are the proposed assisted living facilities sites on Orange Avenue and 1792, and many of the new retail projects. As a commissioner, when these requests are made, would you personally explore and evaluate the request? And you're allowed to wait until sunrise passes.
Is that part of the question?
Yeah, go.
Serving on the Planning and Zoning Board, I moved to deny the request of the outfit that wanted to build a 90-room assisted living facility at the Pumpkin Patch lot in 1792, exactly because it was too big. It encroached on the residential neighborhood. We have, I think, very sensitive people on the Planning and Zoning Board to all these issues. I think I have been an example of how to manage the relationship with the developers and the city. As a businessman, I understand their vested interest, and I understand the vested interest of the city. And I think long-term, I'm very patient about what happens in the city. On several occasions, I have moved to deny things because the city doesn't have any reason to move at a particular point in time. We should take a longer-term view. I would also note that I've been disappointed in the lack of planning in the city, and as your commissioner, I'm going to try to see that we have a better context within which those wishing to invest in Winter Park can operate, so that we can try to get things that we want and things that are compatible by providing reasonable direction that encourages people to invest in our city in the way we want them to.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I also served on P&Z, and that is a great foundation for understanding how to make judgments relative to changes in our zoning. There are occasions when changes to our zoning is appropriate. I did vote to allow the Whole Foods and the new Nordstrom's Rack that's coming in on 1792. I did not vote to approve the Paseo apartments next to Winter Park Village. I did feel like those apartments were out of scale and probably stood the risk of setting a precedence that would clog our roads and overcrowd our schools. So for me, when I evaluate a project, the Mount Vernon site for entrance to start with, I was comfortable going for a hotel on that site. Had we been able to get a hotel, it might have been the correct place to allow that. But given that a hotel wasn't offered, I did also oppose PD zoning on that particular property. So it all depends on what happens with the traffic, how does it impact our neighborhood, And does it continue to demand the quality that allows Winter Park to continue to be a community of distinction? So I think zoning codes have to be very carefully evaluated. Thank you.
Can I wait for Senator?
Yes, you can.
I think obviously I'm pro-business, but it needs to be done in a balanced way, and I think we've missed some opportunities. The Best Western site, for example, I would have loved to have seen mixed use, condos on top, retail on the bottom. Urban Land Institute has done some wonderful case studies about, that actually promotes community. And it helps prevent crime because you have people living in a community. It promotes walkability. They can walk to the grocery store. They can walk to have dinner. They're part of a community, so they have those extra eyes and ears. And our current comp plan makes it very restrictive, where something like that could not be built. And I look at 1792, it's been done very short term. We have some wonderful things. But at the same time, it's turning into 50, Highway 50, Colonial. And I think we need to do a better job of looking strategically long-term. We have to have a 15, 20-year plan of what do we want our corridors, our main streets, what do we want our development to look like, and how is it impacting our city? Thank you.
Oops, that mine's down here. I think we're going to ask more. Looking at what we want to do long-term for our city is part of what we're doing right now in our visioning process, and hopefully at the end of that, we'll have a roadmap going forward. As a landscape architect, I'm uniquely qualified to take a look at the plans that come before us. I work every day with architects, engineers, transportation planners, and I'm able to read plans because each site, each project has to be looked at individually to the merits that it brings to this city. When I first sat on planning and zoning, the mantra we used was, what's in it for Winter Park? And if it doesn't stand up to the quality of our city, we need to do something about that. And through planning and zoning and my work on the commission, we've evaluated those projects. I think we have a long-term plan we have is called the comprehensive plan. It's coming up for review in a year, and that's going to be very important as we look forward to how do we want to renew our city, because that's the key. We're not growing from land mass or population standpoint, but anything we build new means something that is existing needs to be taken down so that it has room for it. And how we defend, how we protect the character of our city as we renew it, I think is the most important issue facing us.
Thanks, Tom. You mentioned the comprehensive plan, so let's jump to that question. And Carolyn, is you're up to that here. In your view, what would be a successful outcome from the comprehensive plan update that will be underway in 2016? And what would be a poor outcome?
I think a very positive outcome would be that the comprehensive plan reflects the vision of the residents. And we've been working now, and that includes the businesses, of course, and we have been working as a group, both the chamber and the city, to encourage everyone in our community to come and participate in our visioning process. So I would like to see our comprehensive plan be reflective of that. I would also like to make sure that our comprehensive plan allows us to grow in a manner that preserves those things that are vital to our community, and at the same time allows density in locations where it is appropriate. So for me, I think the fact that we can have an open conversation and have had through the visioning process is going to be very instrumental in guiding us as we go forward. I know that we really need to look at the transportation element. We need a new economic development element, and we need a new historic element in our comp plan. Those are things that are currently missing, and I think that as a community, it would be good for us to bring those to the table for discussion and have them included in our comp plan. Thank you.
So our comp plan is 85 pages, and someone pointed out to me, and I looked it up, Coral Gables, theirs is 10 pages. They have a much bigger city, much more residents, so I think that in and of itself bigger is not always better. If you look at some of the things today that could not be built under our current comp plan, Grenada Court, if you've ever been to Barney's, that beautiful courtyard in the back, that could not be built today. The Alpond Inn could not have been built under our current comp plan. It was grandfathered in with the Langford Development Agreement. So I think there's some wonderful opportunities. And to Carolyn's point, the visioning process is going on. We all talked about this yesterday. There's over 100 co-creators. There's a 20-person steering committee. There's been over 2,000 people that have given their input into the visioning process. So that will really be our guide in the comp plan, and it's a great opportunity for us.
Keep moving the path.
I'll take it.
No,
Are you next?
Yes, I'm done.
Is that Tom?
by the end of the show, we'll get to something.
Don't run the clock.
Would you please repeat the question just briefly? I want to be sure that everybody. What do you would see as success or
I'm
not?
sorry, I need to get milk, bread. The pros and cons of the comprehensive plan update.
Well, the pro is that we're doing it, and as Lambree mentioned, that's why we do it every so often, because we have to look back and say what's worked and what hasn't worked. And we have the visioning process going on, and during the week, we've all talked about that at various forums. And those co-creators, that steering committee, I think is going to be very important going forward as part of the comprehensive plan. I'm hoping that they're still involved in that as we do it. Because it's our city, it's what do we want? And it's especially our city for the younger generation. And I'm living my vision in Winter Park right now. And this vision is looking out 10, 20, 30 years. They're the people that are going to be inheriting this. They're the ones that are moving in and renewing the city. It's going to be their vision. It's my daughter's vision. It's our vision short term, but it's their vision long term. What is the city they want to have as they grow up and become residents of Winter Park? That to me is the most important thing. I'm hoping we get a lot more input from people that don't have as gray hair as I do. Because, as I said, I'm here now, this is great. I moved here for a reason. It was the vision that people left to me. And I want to leave that same vision that encourages people to move here and stay here and be the multiple generational city that we are. And so the success will be participation. The downside will be if we don't participate and we let this opportunity slip away.
I believe the city commission voted not to include the results of the visioning process in the comprehensive plan. Am I correct on that?
I think we decided, do I answer it?
Let's make it.
I raised that issue because I want to bring some things up in terms of what the comprehensive plan means, what the visioning process can mean, and what the bottom line is for how we convert what we talk about into reality. What we have today is a set of rules, too many rules in my view, in the comprehensive plan, that define our vision because they're rules. They are not a context within which someone can create a solution for Winter Park that we agree with. And it's their money at risk. They're the ones who have something at stake, as well as us. Today, our vision built into our plans is shopping centers with parking fields, 4-story office buildings with parking fields, and 4-story apartment complexes with 20 seconds left. And I think we can do a lot better than that. And I'm interested in trying to take the visioning input and converting it into a context in the comprehensive plan that can get us something better than what the current entitlements that these people buy with their land allow.
Thank you very much. Lambree, we're going to ask a specific question to each of you. The former Progress Point property has been vacant for a decade. What is your view on the current conversation of that property? What market type would you like to see go there?
Yeah, so I was at the commission meeting Monday, and this came up, and did you table it? There's been a lot of back and forth with, I know, I'm even confused what's happened with it.
I'll help you out.
Yeah. There's been so much of wonderful development around there in the streetscape that it is such an eyesore, so I'm excited to see something go there. I think in the commission meeting they said that they were going to look at traffic counts for different types of developments in that area to see how traffic would impact different things. So I'm excited to see what they come back with. Personally, I like, there's retail there, there's restaurants there. I like that. If we can get some mixed-use development there too. I know there's some restrictions on that site, so we'll have to have experts come back and say what's available to do there. But I think that would be nice. You don't have people living there now. You have houses, but you don't have any condos, so that would be nice. But we'll see what they come back with.
I know, I can't wait to do this. We've been doing that all week long, it's past 2 nights.
We didn't table it, we sent it back for study, which is what we do when we don't know what we want to do.
Unfortunately, we kind of backed into the disposal of this property, and as time has elapsed, more opportunities have come. There's a parking situation along Orange Avenue that we have to address. What I don't want to do is get into dictating the type of retail or the type of development that goes in there. I think we can put together a program that says this is, in general terms, what the city would like to see there. But that's what private development's all about. And the creativity that comes to that site, who knows what could possibly go there. When we first put it out, we had 30 different entities poll requests for that. And one came back out of the 30, but that was for assisted living. And we're still negotiating with that group. That may be what goes there. It's a unique place. I don't want to get the city into the real estate business. We have a piece of property that we dispose of. My one key is always, when we did the state office building site, we put a value on that piece of property. And so there's a monetary return that we need to see back from the city that's in the neighborhood of $5 million. And as that as a starting point, I think that's going to go a ways to dictating what type of development does go in there.
We had a joint meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board and the Economic Development Board on this issue a month or so ago. And it's apparent that, again, as I mentioned in an earlier response, the city is not doing quality planning. We get these proposals without having a context within which we know how much more traffic, if at all, Orange County can take. What are the alternatives to reroute traffic if we decide to allow higher density? How is that going to be managed against the residential context? We don't have answers to these questions, and I think we need them as a city before we entertain changes in zoning on that property. I would also say that I don't think the city should be in the real estate business. It puts us at odds with ourselves. A developer's objective is to obtain the highest return with the highest and best use. The city's objective is certainly to make as much money as we can on the property, but maybe we don't value the highest and best use. So we have to, in my view, get rid of the property within a planned context, and then focus on how we can create opportunities for smart development throughout the rest of the city on land that we don't own.
Back maybe a year ago, it's been quite a long time, we started to talk about Progress Point. And at that point in time, as a commissioner, I tried to convince my colleagues that we should actually do that planning up front, define the zoning on the property before we went out to the community. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. I believe that developers have the right to be able to predict the outcome based on their investments. Because without predictability, it's very difficult to bring good developers to this community. And when we send something out and we have ideas of what it should be, but we don't share those with the people that are bringing in the bids, ultimately we're going to drive those people away. Because good developers don't have time to waste bringing proposals for good projects to us if we haven't decided up front what it is we're looking for. So I would like for us to have told the bidding community up front exactly what it was, at least in the context of zoning, not down to design, but zoning, what it is we were looking for. Personally, I would like to see something that maintains the ambiance and the scale of Orange Avenue along the street. And on the rear part of the lot, form is more important to me than the actual use. I'd like to see some walkability in that area. Sorry, yeah, stop. 90 seconds is hard.
We can always ask yes, no questions. Tom?
Yes.
So the Chamber's really proud of all the wonderful press that we get here in the city, thanks to our one-person marketing department and our friends at the city, Clarissa and Craig. Unfortunately, though, something's bubbled up recently as a result of the ordinance regarding street performers. Specifically, there's been sort of an unintended consequence in terms of artists, specifically plein air artists and the paint out. Are you aware of that? And if so, will you readdress that?
You know, I'm aware of that, and as we looked at that ordinance, the difficulty we ran into is that art is in the eye of the beholder. And you know, if you're a pole dancer or a violinist, you're an artist of some way, shape, or form, in somebody's definition. And so we had our city attorney and Randy Knight look at other ordinances around the state that passed the constitutionality of this. And they came back with one that unfortunately paints a very broad brush as to what an artist truly is. And so many things that we would consider fine art are included. Now, the paint out and whatnot have been, I won't say grandfathered in, but they are already on our list of city-sponsored events. As far as other artists and whatever happens, it doesn't deny it. You have to actually go down and, we'll call it, get a permit. And you can walk down to Randy Knight's office and say, I'm going to be painting on the avenue today, I'm going to be at this location, and Randy most likely is going to say, great, have a good day, hope it's sunny, and go out and paint. It gives us a tool to address the aspects of art that aren't appropriate on the avenue. And so it is an ordinance. We have said, let's run it for 6 months to a year, let's see how it works. And if it becomes obstructive to the ambiance of the avenue, we can relook at it. But we had to have a place to start. We had to have addressed the certain things that weren't appropriate on the avenue, and that's where we're going.
Yes.
You don't get his 90 seconds.
You know I need it. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, the street performers ordinance has had some unintended consequence in terms of the plein air artists and where they can set up. Would you readdress that issue?
Certainly through our Polaschek group and the plein air group, those folks are already permitted. So that in and of itself is not a problem. But the question about other artists, the wonderful thing about the ordinance is, number one, it was supported by the Merchants Association, it was supported by the Chamber, and it was supported by the Commission. That's awesome. Now, to address the particular issue, in the ordinance itself, it allows that if what you are doing is dependent upon being in a particular location, if you are painting the clock and you have to be there, you can go to the city manager and there is a built-in opportunity for him to say, be blessed, go paint. Winter Park has no desire to exclude artists from our community. This is simply a tool for us to use to try to make sure that our sidewalks are clear for strollers and moms and walkers, and that we can continue to enjoy the park side. We've only asked people to go 22 feet across the road. So I'm very comfortable that this was a unanimous decision by all the groups within our community. So I feel very positive about that. Thank you.
I'm not going to do the yes, but sort of, because I agree with what everyone's saying, but you're right, the Park Avenue merchants, we did unanimously agree as a board. You know, how this really came about were a lot of the merchants on the avenue were upset. There were panhandlers, they were playing loud music, amplifiers, even though there's a sound ordinance, you still have to call the police, and the place did a great job, but it was really a nuisance, and customers are complaining, and sidewalks, you know, they get really full on the weekend, and having additional people there who don't pay rent, who don't pay electric bills, who don't pay salaries. You know, the merchants felt really at a disadvantage and thought, gosh, I've invested in this community. I've created jobs. I pay taxes. I do all these things. And so that's really how it came about several years ago. So I like the ordinance, but I think absolutely we should revisit it. It is new. There's a little growing pains, I think, sometimes when you put something new in. But it's, there are other ways. Artists can go get a daily permit. They can paint and do those things. And again, they still have a place where they can do all that. It's just in the parking lot. Thank you.
Okay, Pete, here's a question from our Park Avenue Merchants Association members and businesses. Since the city's 2013 CRA parking study, an additional 100 parking spaces have been added to the core of the CBD. Are you satisfied with the current state of parking in downtown? If not, what strategies would you like to see implemented to manage parking now and into the future?
Again, I would note that we haven't done a good job of planning for our downtown parking. There is a fundamental trade-off between building more parking and having it fill up. It's like a waterfall where the larger you make the bathtub, eventually it will still overflow. Managing that within the downtown area is obviously an important priority for the property owners and the merchants. And I would just say that we need to plan better and work better together with the Merchants Association to look at other ways to address parking. I think one of the things that I remember recently was that the valet program. What's the status of the valet program, if I can ask you?
It's been a topic of discussion for about 4 years, unfortunately.
Well, I would be happy as your commissioner to move it from discussion to action. And that would certainly be one obvious way that the city and the Chamber and the Merchants Association can work together towards a better solution for downtown parking.
I do think we have a problem in the downtown area. I'm not sure it's as much a parking problem as it is a walking problem. Everyone in Winter Park wants to park directly in front of the store they're visiting. Every merchant wants to park right outside their store. Every city employee is parking, many of us, in the downtown area. As a group, if we want to make those parking spaces available for shoppers, diners, we can do that. We simply have to walk a couple of more blocks ourselves. So I'm hesitant always to think of putting major parking structures within the downtown, only because that flies in the face of being a pedestrian community, utilizing our sunrailer. And it also causes us to be just a little lazier to walk down the street a bit. We do have a parking structure that isn't full over in Hannibal Square. I would love to see the city employees parking there. I would love to see the Park Avenue merchants parking there. I would love for us to provide shuttles, maybe even just golf cart size shuttles to bring people back and forth that runs continuously. When we worked on Sunrail, we had planned to put in a circulator bus that would go from downtown Winter Park to the villages, to the Winter Park Village, not Winter Park. I'd like to see that happen.
As a merchant, yes, there's never enough parking. And when they built Rollins, they actually did a study and they showed then that there was a shortage. At the time then, the city, thankfully, I don't want to say tore down the Public Works building, but that's what they did, and we got an additional 75 spots, I think, over there, which was very helpful. But there is a shortage, and we do have people coming in here. We have, it's a destination. Look at this amazing city that we're part of. But there's other things we can do. So one, Sunrail. I'm a huge proponent of Sunrail. We actually have employees that use it, and it takes cars off the street. So we would love to see weekend service. The merchants have been asking for it. It's wonderful. And I think another thing that merchants would like is to have some parking spots on the end that are just 15-minute. You know, there are people that just come in to pick something up. Maybe they ordered glasses at C, which is where I got these. You know, maybe on the corners, you know, they're just going in quickly to get something. I know, I support local, I think it's important. But, you know, there are, you know, Doggy Door has said the same thing. It would be nice on just some of the corners to have those 15-minute spots where people can get in and out. You know, streetscapes, again, you know, pedestrian friendly, bike friendly, and that's important. You know, it's about moving people around. So thank you. That's all the signs.
You know, Bree touched on something, and all the transportation folks that I've talked with said, based on studies in Winter Park, the average time a person spends parking on the avenue is an hour. And yet we have 3-hour parking on the avenue. I don't care what you go to, whether it's Naples or Coral Gables or whatever, in those major shopping districts, they don't have 3-hour parking on the avenue. I think if we turn those cars over more than once or twice a day, that would really help. We did add 75 spaces over behind City Hall. But you know, as a resident, I don't have a parking problem because, as Carolyn mentioned, I know where the spots are. I mean, I think it's more of a communication, it's more of a directional for our visitors to be able to say, yes, there are other opportunities around town other than the avenue. I mean, yes, you do like to park in front of the store you're going to, but I don't mind parking across at the Sunrail station there and walking 2 blocks to go wherever. That's part of the charm of Winter Park is walking. So I think it's more helping visitors to the city find the actual parking lots, parking garages that we have. And I think that's going to go a long way to helping that perception of a parking problem in downtown.
Okay, short pause for a second. If you have questions in the audience, if you could raise your hand, we'll collect those. I'm sorry, I was supposed to do that earlier. Ashley? And Lambrini, thank you for mentioning only chamber members. I appreciate that. C, Doggy Door. We ready to roll? Okay, thank you. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Carolyn, Lambrini, and then it'll kind of be for you as well. You were both recognized in Winter Park Magazine as influential in Winter Park. The Entrepreneur for Lambrini, the Gadfly for Carolyn. Are those accurate monikers? And Tom and Pete, when it's your turn, what would your moniker be? How would that one-word term? So Carolyn, you're up.
I wasn't real sure about that, quite frankly, being a gadfly, until I actually did a little bit of research and saw that I was in the company of Socrates, who considered himself a gadfly, because a gadfly asks the tough questions. And I don't mind asking the tough questions and searching to find the answers. So while I would have rather been the conscience of the community, like dear Mary Randall sitting there got to be, I was quite satisfied once I gave that some thought. And I do own it and feel good about the fact that I don't back down for those tough questions. Thank you.
I was surprised. The Entrepreneur is very humbled. You know, when we opened Cocina, it was just something that we missed from back home. My parents were in the restaurant business. I always wanted to own a restaurant, so I just did something that I was passionate about. In creating 60 jobs, you know, we have amazing, amazing employees, and I'm able to run because I have a phenomenal team. They're family. So yes, I think it was appropriate. You know, most businesses, restaurants fail within the first year, and 90% of them actually. So we're celebrating 5 years. A lot of people didn't think we would make it. I even had people tell me we were a nothing on a nothing street. But you know, we revitalized Wellborn. It wasn't just about the restaurant. You know, we now have 2 new businesses. They both celebrated their 1-year anniversary. So I think that's, I guess, what entrepreneurs do. So I feel like I have a responsibility to continue that. And congratulations to the Grove and Writer's Block Bookstore, because they survived a year, and I'm proud of them. Thank you.
Both members.
I think you're racking up a lot of discounts here.
None of them give me a discount.
Yeah, right.
I thought if I said what one word would reflect me, it's probably my proudest thing, and that's my daughter, and the word would be father. that's the proudest part of my life. And so many things that I do, I think of her before I do them. And so I guess father would be the one, because that is to me what I'm most proud of.
I hope my son and daughter don't think lesser of me. I look at my involvement in the city reflectively, because it wasn't a conscious effort. It was an organic effort. You guys, know I've been writing this blog called winterparkperspective.org for 8 years, I think now. And I have just found that I have a passion for reasoned governance and sound policy. And when I see our city get into areas that are not reasonable and are not sound, I feel that it's necessary to speak up and take action on it and to try to correct that problem. And I think I bring that sense of responsibility for sound policy making to the commission. And it's a core motive for me as to why I'm running.
Great, thank you. And everyone? All right, pay attention, this is a long question, because we know, if you're running for office, I know directly from a political family that you will not answer this yes or no. So the context is you have to pay attention, okay? As our community looks forward towards the future, I'd like to start the conversation about the possibility of a new library for Winter Park with some data. According to the Library Journal, 80% of investment in public libraries involve new construction versus renovating. The Pew Research Center states 87% of all Americans 16 and older say libraries should create programs for local businesses or entrepreneurs, and 63% of the employed are work-related learners. Using the library to improve job skills, receive a license or certification for their job, and to help to get a new job or to gain knowledge. You get the idea. Libraries are to help the business community. Knowing this, how do you see the new 21st Century Winter Park Library connecting with the business community to synergize communication, education, and learning for our community?
That's me?
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about the library. My parents are immigrants. They came from Greece. They did not speak English when they arrived here. The first language I learned was actually Greek as well. So libraries were huge growing up. I mean, there was one about 6 blocks from our home, so we spent a lot of time there. We'd get very excited with the Encyclopedia Britannica. We were very excited. I know, do you remember that? Yes, I am that old. So I'm excited about the library and the opportunities that it brings. Having technology labs, having services that, we can't get in our current library. So I see it as a wonderful opportunity. I would also like to say that, the people will decide, which is awesome. The library's going to have a forum here in this room a week from today. I'm excited and I'm going. But I think there's wonderful programs that can be offered. As a businesswoman, as a woman, I think it would be awesome to have programs there where you can do mentoring and you can help young people, pursue their dreams, to have a place where they have the resources to be an entrepreneur. Because, I have people support me, and I think it's important as leaders that we support the young people in our community. My daughter is here, she's 9. But, imagine, there's other kids in our community that need the resources, and we can do that, and I'm excited about it.
We'll do this once. Yeah, I share that excitement for the library. I used the comparison the other evening that the library that we have now is a rotary phone. The library that proposed is like our cell phones, and that's a world of difference. And technology has advanced that far. I struggle to even use the word library to describe the new building that we're going to have, because it's going to be so much more than what we do have. It's not just all about books, it's about information, it's about technology. And Patrick, I think the answer to that question was actually in the last couple of sentences that you read. All those attributes that you said that we need, that business community needs, that our community needs, are going to be in that library. Now, it is a big decision. It's a $30 million bond issue. And because of that, we've put it out to our residents. This is your choice. I ask all of you, to please go on the website, get educated about this. This is one of the most important decisions our city's made in a great number of years, and it needs to be an educated and informed decision. So I encourage you, the form will be here. There's all kinds of information on the website. Please take the time to look at that. It's important. Having a library, a new library is important for our city, but it needs to be an educated decision, and I ask all of you to please take the time to do that.
I echo those remarks, and I also want to point out that Winter Park uniquely in Orange County gets to define what its library is. Orange County has a tax on their residents who are not in Winter Park to support the Orange County library system. We do not pay that tax. We pay the library directly, roughly right now, an equivalent amount of what that tax would be if we were part of the Orange County library system. So I would, with that background, also encourage every resident to take care and understand that this is your library. It's not the Orange County Library, it's the Winter Park Library. And to go on the library's website, to talk to your neighbors, to decide what you want, and then vote. Thank you.
Patrick's question had to do with business in the library, is that correct? I know that one of the most important aspects of this library is that we plan to have a lot of space for collaboration. And I did go and visit the Hunt Library, and when you walk in, it's this magnificent architectural structure, but the entire downstairs is open and spacious and lovely and empty. As you go up the floors, where we have the small rooms with technology, with places where people can come and share knowledge, those rooms are full. Those rooms are full and people are waiting outside in the hall. So whether it's businesses trying to prepare for your license, your permits, whatever it is that you need, and possibly there can be people there to help with those sorts of things. But additionally, just the space to share knowledge, to me, is going to be the most valuable. I think we have a facility here that works for this size group to come together, but if you need more, the library will have 8,000 square feet. It is important that our residents make the decision about the library. My personal feeling about the library is I do not want to ever relinquish the existing library property. The good news is the $30 million bond is big enough, is big enough to do all of those things. Thank you.
Dana, thank you.
I like smile
All these questions were created through our Government Affairs Committee, and we had lots of conversation. I missed a few of them, but one of the observations that was made, which I thought was very interesting, is our public schools and how, at least when I was growing up, across on the south side, going to Boone High School, Winter Park schools were the best schools. They may still be, but there's an observation that a lot of people are now sending their kids to private schools. So the question is, how does the city commission have the ability to increase the quality and sustainability of our public schools here in Winter Park? And it's Tom, you're up.
I had the opportunity to send my daughter to public school, and I lost that vote. She wound up going to Bishop Moore, which was a great opportunity.